Good evening. My name is Mark Burton from Audette and Partners. One of three firms that came together to try this case on behalf of Mr. Johnson. The other firms were the Miller firm and Baum, Headland, Aristide, and Goldman. All three firms made a great effort. And this is a historic day when, after over 40 years of hiding the truth about Roundup, the truth has finally been revealed by a jury, an independent jury. The truth has come out that Roundup does cause cancer. First, we're going to hear a statement by Mr. Johnson. He will not take questions. That will be followed by lead counsel Brent Wisner, who will take questions. Co-lead counsel David Dickens will then take questions, and then Mr. Kennedy will also take questions.
First of all, I just want to thank the men and women and everybody on the jury. I want to thank them from the bottom of my heart for the hard work that they've done and for the days that they spent in that courtroom listening to evidence and listening to two great lawyers and teams go back and forth. I want to thank them on my behalf and on behalf of my family. I want to thank the jurors first. Second, I'd like to thank my whole legal team. Of course, Mr. Litzenberg is not here right now. Tim Litzenberg, I want to thank him. You know what I mean? Everybody knows what Tim means to this team up here. I want to thank Tim first. I want to thank Mike Miller and the Miller firm for taking my case. Without them, I wouldn't be here right now. This case has been very hard. It's been fought long. It took a lot of years to get here, and these guys did a lot of work, and I'm very proud of each and one of you. Thank you. Since the beginning of this case, I've received a lot of support and a lot of thank you and a lot of prayer and a lot of everything, just good energy from a lot of people that I don't even know, you know, and I'm glad to be here to help with this situation after I learned about Roundup and glyphosate and everything. I'm glad to be here to be able to help, but the cost is way bigger than me. So hopefully this thing will start to get the attention that it needs to get right so folks can make a good choice. And finally, I just want to thank my wife, my 3 sons, and my whole entire family and friends that have been here for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Hi, everyone. My name is Brent Wisner. I'm with the law firm of Baum, Headland, Aristide, and Goldman. I was brought into this case 2 weeks before it went to trial due to some medical issues. And I have to say, without a question, it brings me an incredible amount of pride to represent Mr. Johnson and his family. This case was historic. Every major known human carcinogen had a moment like this, a moment when the science finally caught up, when they could no longer bury it, where people had to actually look at it and say, we have a problem. And this case is that moment. Because right now, a unanimous jury here in San Francisco has told Monsanto enough. You did something wrong and now you have to pay. And I cannot say how important this case is. There's 4,000 other cases filed around the United States, and there are countless thousand other people out there who are suffering from cancer because Monsanto didn't give them a choice. This case is important, but more important than the other cases is the fact that we now have a way forward. That Monsanto now has an option to do right by all the people that have been hurt, and do right by Mr. Johnson, and do right by everybody else who could be affected by this product. So I just want to say thank you. This was a massive team effort. As you can see, all the law firms involved were incredible team. My partner, Mr. Baum, as well as the entire group of people we had that helped. This was a team effort, and I don't think any of us could take more pride in what we've been able to do for Mr. Johnson today. I'll be taking questions, but I think we should probably just go through statements and then we can take questions together.
Hello, David Dickens on behalf of the Miller firm. Mr. Johnson came to the Miller firm about 3.5 years ago, and he came to us with an incurable cancer. We've since that time spent time in his kitchen with his wife and his children. Mr. Johnson has been an inspiration to all of us. He has stayed strong. He has put his neck out as the first plaintiff in what will be thousands. He has stood up for what he believes in. He has stood up for what is right against Monsanto, a huge corporation. And because of him, we have brought justice, not to him, but hopefully to thousands of others. Michael Miller of our office was going to be lead trial counsel, but had a terrible accident. But he has stayed here with us and ushered us through this trial. But because of that, we brought in two unbelievable law firms, Mark Burton of Audette and Partners, and Brent Wisner with Baum Headland. Those two have been invaluable, and because of them, we were able to get this victory on behalf of Mr. Johnson. So thank you all. I now turn it over to Bobby Kennedy, and then we will take questions.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks to a couple of people, a couple of groups. And I'm so proud to be part of this process. But I want to start by thanking the jury, which was really an extraordinary jury. They sat there for 2 months. Some of them filled up notebooks, as many as 5 notebooks. A lot of this testimony was very dense. It was, in fact, it was boring, some of it, just because of the scientific complexity. But none of them ever wavered, none of them dozed, none of them fell asleep. They paid attention, and we talked to them after their deliberations, and the earnestness and the purposefulness of this jury in reaching a verdict that was fair, that was based on the evidence, really gave me tremendous faith in the American jury system. And in many ways, it was American democracy and our justice system that was on trial in this case. Because in this case, as in almost every case of environmental injury of this magnitude, you not only see many people injured, but you also see a subversion of democracy. You see the corruption of public officials, the capture of the agencies that are supposed to protect us all from pollution, who become captured by the industries that are supposed to regulate, the corruption of science, the falsification of science, and we saw all those things happen here. This is a company that used all of the plays in the playbook that was developed over 60 years by the tobacco industry to escape consequences of killing 1 out of every 5 of its customers. They used its product as directed. And Monsanto and Roundup have used those strategies to insulate this product, which is now ubiquitous in our food supply, in our water, in our wildlife, in everything that we touch, in mother's breast milks in this country. And we, as Brent said, the science has changed. We passed now into an era, we passed an inflection point where the science has now accumulated, despite all of the efforts by Monsanto to put their finger in the dike and to hold back the science. We have reached that inflection point where the science is now too persuasive to deny. And this jury was the first time that Monsanto has ever had to defend its science in front of an American jury. And it gave me huge faith in the American jury system and in the American justice system. And I'm very excited about the prospects of the future. I have to say this about this product. The science is very, very strong on non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Monsanto has other problems too, because the science is cascading now on liver cancer for this product, on endocrine disruptors, which cause brain inflammation, on the chelation as features of this product, which remove the important minerals from humans' bodies and cause imbalances in the metals, which cause all kinds of problems. And so Monsanto, I think, really has to do real science now, and I hope that's one of the messages that come out of this lawsuit. And look at not only non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, but all of the other potential adverse consequences of this product. I want to say finally that I'm so proud to be associated with Dave Dickens and with Brent Wisner Glenn is a 34-year-old kid, and he got, because Mike Miller had this terrible kiteboarding accident 2 weeks before this, got very grievously injured. He was going to try this case, and got pulled in at the last minute. And these two, I said to these two guys after the verdict that you played a no-error game. They really did an extraordinary job, and I was so proud of them every day of sitting in that trial room and watching them work and watching really talented, gifted, ingenious lawyers. I'm looking forward to many, many more cases against Monsanto with this team. And Lee, thank you for your courage. In many ways, this was a verdict on your character. And when you were out of the earshot of the jury, they told us that it was your testimony coming in that day and seeing them taking your measure and seeing what kind of man you were. And not only the strength, but also the humor and your embrace of life and your humility and gratitude and work ethic. And the fact of what a wonderful family man and father you are that made them want to have your back and take care of you. And so we're all grateful to you for giving us this victory. Thank you, and we're open for questions.
Is there anything you can share about those conversations with the jurors, if you're able to? What sort of things do you like to ask jurors after a verdict in your favor, and what can you share about what they said?
I think we respect the privacy of the jury. If you want to ask them what they thought or what you're welcome to, I think that some of them might be willing to talk. I don't know. I will speak generally, though, that we did have a conversation with the jury. Lasted about an hour. Mr. Johnson was there, and it was very emotional. It was a heartfelt exchange because, this jury has been there for a while. They've heard the evidence. They listened to what we had to share with them, and they unanimously agreed to take care of Mr. Johnson and his family. So it was an overwhelmingly emotional experience. That's about as much as I'd be willing to share about what was discussed.
Right.
Yeah.
Monsanto already saying that they're planning on appeal. What do you make of that? And do you think that Mr. Johnson is actually going to see any of the award that the jury has set aside for him?
That's a tough question in the sense that, whether or not Monsanto does right by this man and his family, that's their decision. They said they're already going to appeal. That's fine. They can make those arguments. We will fight this until the last minute, the last day. That Monsanto would engage in a process that would deprive a man who's fighting cancer of the compensation that he's due as a testimony to the character of Monsanto. But we will fight it, and we will do everything we can to make sure that Mr. Johnson and his family, hopefully do have a chance to share in that award in a way that he'll be able to change his life. I mean, his wife works 2 jobs, 14 hours a day, and she's spending the last years of Mr. Johnson's life working and not with him and his children. And that's just not okay. This verdict sends a clear message, and hopefully, he'll be able to actually.
She's at work right now.
Yeah, no, she's at work right now. And so, hopefully, we'll work with whatever we can to make sure that him and his family are taken care of. And, it's a question you should ask Monsanto. Really, how dare they?
Is there a way to get them to make that payment? Is there a legal remedy to do that? In other words, if they just keep putting it off, they could try to wait out the clock. I mean, that could be grim, but that could be one of the things that they're trying to do. Is there a way that you can force their hand and make them accountable?
There's not much we can do from a legal perspective beyond get a judgment, have it be entered, and fight on appeal. One important fact, though, is a sort of an amusing fact that they have to post a bond of the full amount, and it generates interest at 10% a year. And so, if they want to wait out the clock, the money's going to continue to grow, and that's a considerable amount of money. And so, at some point, Mr. Johnson, he's fighting his battle right now with cancer, and maybe he can, not because of this money, now he may be able to get on, maybe get a bone marrow transplant or some other options that maybe weren't available before. So, we'll see what we can do.
I would just add that we will, due to his,
Can you move in front of the mics? We can't hear you through our mic.
we will, due to his terminal diagnosis and his health condition, ask the appellate court to expedite review of any appeals in this case. So hopefully, the appeals will go swiftly, and the judgment will be satisfied while Mr. Johnson is still alive.
I'm sorry, just to clarify again the Grimm point. Now, if Mr. Johnson were to pass, does everything stops and the case is over and Monsanto is screwed away?
Absolutely not, no, the judgment is entered, that will not, never go. So even if Mr. Johnson, were to pass away tomorrow, the judgment would still be in effect and, nothing would change from a legal perspective.
There's a court case coming up in St. Louis, which gives the attorneys the right to subpoena the actual employees of Monsanto. There's also additional information that may have come out since this trial has been run. Do you see that your case will be stronger going forward for the other 4,000 people who are waiting for judgment?
You know, that's a really good question. There's really 2 points to that question. The first one is Monsanto didn't bring a single live person from their company to testify in this trial. Not a single live person to look into the jury's eyes and say, hey, this is why we did what we did. And that was the gamble they took. Now in St. Louis, they can't do that. In St. Louis, all those employees are subject to subpoena, and so they'll have to testify. So that should be an interesting twist. The second thing is, we used to obtain this verdict about 20% of the really important documents that we've discovered in this litigation. We only used a portion of it because Mr. Johnson's case, we wanted to get the trial as soon as we could. But there is a lot more evidence. It's coming. It's going to come down the pipeline, and as soon as we can get it out from under seal, we are going to share it with the press, share it with whoever wants to look at it, because it's really important documents that show, quite frankly, rampant corporate malfeasance by Monsanto. Any other questions that you want to try? Okay.
I'd like to say that I am in touch with thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that have been following the Monsanto issue for 2 decades. And there's a tremendous amount of appreciation at every stage. You're sharing the discovery documents with the world. Your incredible dedication to the truth. I've been talking about Monsanto for 22 years, and I saw your closing arguments and I saw your opening arguments, and we were all very proud of the energy and attention to the detail that you gave. So on behalf of the tens of thousands, the hundreds of thousands of people who are they're flooding our live Facebook now with love and bless yous and all that, I want to make sure you hear that. And also to you too, Lee Johnson, you're a hero for all of us.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. That's very kind of you, and my heart goes out to all those people who are fighting the good fight here. Is there any other questions, or are we good here? Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, there's something like-
Well, there we are at the end of the press conference at this amazing trial of the century, where the amazing team gathered to end up winning. There were thousands more plaintiffs lined up to fight them for having non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Has never been won by Monsanto.
That's right.
They're showing.
You know, I think I gave it.
So I want to sign off now, spending the time with the attorneys and plaintiffs, and wish you all
Yeah, I
safe
mean-
evening and healthy life.
Okay, so no, I'm not gonna, I don't want to. Might make you leave. Still got a couple more.
Hey. Brett, I'll call you.